It's your boy, the Passport Bro, Wingman, coming at you again with another YouTube video. And today's video is titled Jokes on Passport Bros, Your Wife and Women That the Foreign Men Didn't Want to Wife Up. And the reason this topic came about is because I've been watching a variety of different videos, and there was one, I guess one naysayer that one of his, rebuttals to some of the things we've been talking about is that he said he was wondering if, the foreign women are so much better that how come the men in those countries are not wifing his women up? For example, he was saying like in South America, there's a high single mother rate, and the single mother rate there is higher than it is in the United States. So why would men go there to look for a wife if the men there aren't necessarily wifing up these women? And I kind of wanted to address some of the reasons for this, and then kind of debunk his whole argument as well, and kind of talk a little bit more about this. So let me start off by saying this: a lot of times, even in the United States, when they look at the single mother rate, that type of thing, a lot of times they're looking at whether the woman is married or not, and a lot of times what you have is people shacking up. So the father is still there; they're just not married. And the same thing is true in South America as well. You have a lot of families that are together, but they're not necessarily married. And also keep in mind that work in these countries, sometimes there's high unemployment. So a lot of times the men wind up having to travel out of the country looking for work. For example, one of the girls I was dating in general, her father, this was a girl I met in Colombia. Her father was in Chile, pretty much there doing work. And sometimes he would send her money, that kind of stuff. And then her mother was in Venezuela. So a lot of times what you have is single mothers in countries such as Colombia, Brazil, but the father is still somewhat active in the child's life. He's just not, he may be in another state. And even in some cases they might co-parent, which means they're not necessarily together, but he still, somewhat plays like an active role, that kind of thing. So that I want you to keep that in mind. Also keep in mind one thing people don't think about as well. Some of these other countries outside of U.S., I don't know if you noticed, but and I don't endorse this, neither do most passport bros. There is a high, there is somewhat some men there sometimes put their hands on women too in these countries. And the thing is, in the United States, of course, the law is very strict on men here, but in these other countries, they can get by a lot. For example, somewhat recently, there was a guy in China. His wife had wound up divorcing him. The guy hunted her down, and I heard this pretty much was from, I believe it was a Phil Advice show. And pretty much he said that the guy hunted her down, and he wound up pretty much gouging her eyes out. And I don't believe that guy went to jail. I think he got a huge fine or something like that. But I say that to say that in some of these other countries, the men there, if women want to complain about misogyny in America, put it this way, it can get a whole lot worse. And again, I don't condone that. No one on my channel condones that. None of my subscribers condone that. I'm just letting you know that in some of these other countries, some of the men sometimes tend to be a little, it can be a little rough sometimes. So sometimes women are trying to get away from that, so they wind up breaking up with their husband, boyfriend, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that that's the reason why all the women are, they're pretty much meaning that all the men are abusive and women are just leaving. That's not the case at all. Like I said, I'm still doing more research on it, but from what I've seen, it's kind of the same situation where a lot of times they're just shacking up, but they're not necessarily getting married. And to add to my point, keep this in mind. The divorce rate is about 48% in the United States, which means only about 52% is successful. Did you know that the divorce rate in Colombia is only 9%? It's only 9%. So when they do get married, the marriage is very stable and it lasts. In addition to that, studies also have been shown that that immigrant families, their marriages tend to be more stable than American families. It was the study was done, and maybe I'll share that in a link. A study was done in which it showed that 72% of immigrants in the United States, their marriages in general, when they did the studies in general, they tended to be on their first marriage. Like 72% of the married couples that entered the United States, they tended to stay married at a 72% rate. Versus in the U.S., it was saying as far as like first marriage, only about maybe like 60%. So I say that to say that a lot of people are trying to make it out as if you marry a foreign woman, because a lot of men in these other countries are not marrying them, your marriage is not going to be successful, and that's just totally not true. And I've already mentioned in many of my videos where the marriage success rate for American couples are 52%. If you marry a foreign woman, if it's a Western man and he marries a foreign woman, the success rate is 80%. It's an 80% success rate. So that being said, I just want to let you know, like, you have a very high probability of success when you deal with foreign women. In addition to that, there was a video recently by one of the YouTubers I listened to. His name is ibmor, and he actually did a video called "Hey Peter, more resources does not equal submission." And the reason he made this video, and I just want to comment on it, is recently there was another person, and there are plenty of YouTubers that have done this as well, pretty much saying that the reason why American women don't submit to American men is because we're not building things, we don't have enough money. Pretty much saying if we had enough money, if we had enough resources, then the woman would cook for us, they would be submissive, and all those things alike. But what BGS said, which makes a lot of sense, is he gave an example of a Guatemalan couple in which they pretty much were living almost like in a basement. It was a guy, he has like a Guatemalan wife, he has like 2 children, and they talked about how the guy's wife is like cooking for him, she's preparing things for the family, and the guy's not really making that much. They're pretty much living like in a basement. And BGS said that to say that man is getting more cooperation from his woman with less resources than most American men. So even though most American men have more money, but yet our women are out of control. And he says that to say that the reason for that is there is a difference in the culture. The women in these other countries are kind of raised and conditioned to be submissive, to take care of the household, to cook. And he also brought up, which was a very good point, same thing, there was a recent video of one of the Passport Bros interviewing like a woman, I believe from like Thailand, and she was pretty much saying that it's not a problem for her. Actually, it might have been a Filipino woman. I remember seeing her video. She pretty much just saying for her it's not a big deal for her to cook. That's just kind of like how the culture is there. The women, they just grew up cooking for the men and just having a culture of cooking in general. That's not they don't feel enslaved by doing that. So I say that to say, and this might wind up being a shorter video, but I just kind of wanted to at least address this talking point that's been pervasive in a lot of different videos of people that have something to say about the Passport Bros. They constantly want to say, that you pretty much like we're being hoodwinked for the most part. Like the men are giving us the scrubs, but we're not really bringing back the type of women that we say. And I'm just showing them statistically what they're saying is inaccurate, and in fact, what we're saying is actually statistically true. And I have stats to prove it. Many of our Passport Bros have stats to prove it. It's your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, signing off. Can you please hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up. Please leave comments and tell me what you think about this whole situation. I would love to hear from you. And also, one other thing before I leave, one guy in the comments mentioned that potentially, he would have liked me to have in the video some like background music. I don't know what you all think about possible background music. If you think it'll be helpful, entertaining. Just let me know what you think. But until next time, this is the Passport Bro Wingman signing off.